if you go to Jose. There's just some interesting stuff.
So I've looked at this at least a while before, and I think the imagery of the beast is pulled from Daniel,
let's see,
not really Hosea. And because
two of my favorite dudes are on the TikTok right now. Both friends with them. One's more of a Gnostic Christian. The other one's a Christian that no longer believes. Anyways, we all have our own journeys and our own paths. So the Greenman, the Greenman is an interesting symbol, and I think a lot of people, I think it's just simply, mythology, folklore. But we're going to look more into this whole topic based on my own neighborhood. So anyways, the guy that was supposed to be with us, he and I had a gut feeling he was going to bail out on us. It's a shame. I also got a gut feeling that he has got some serious personal issues he needs to rectify in his life. But anyways, no one's here and no one cares. So if no one's here, I'll listen to this.
Babylon in Ezekiel 16 and Jeremiah 4. And it talks about how Mystery Babylon was Jerusalem. So that's interesting to me, because if it was all about Yahweh and the Temple Institute and all these things, why did it have to be destroyed? We know that a new covenant had to come. We know that something greater had to come. This is why I believe Paul said that the law was of sin and death, but the law was also holy, just, and good. Because when it's used outwardly, it becomes evil. You start sacrificing animals and doing all these things when all God wants you to, because Jesus even said, I desire mercy and not sacrifice, or obedience and not sacrifice. Whereas when the law becomes holy, just, and good, it's when it's written on your heart and you're walking in the Spirit, like Paul says, where against such thing there is no law.
Yeah, so I was talking about this all day in my Discord about the existence of evil and whether God has anything to do with that or not. And from my perspective, since I believe in an almighty sovereign God, I mean, I've called him Yahweh, but whatever you want to call him is irrelevant. I believe in an almighty sovereign God, and that means nothing can happen outside of his sovereignty. So that means if something bad happens, it happens under his watch, under his authority.
Running so
and whether he himself did it, or whether he sent some, influence to do it, or whether he sent Satan to do it, or anybody, it still happens under his watch. And so we talk about the law of Moses. Mm-hmm. Was it good or bad? And, you say, well, there's a lot of bad stuff in it, There's no mercy built in. It's all, if you break the law, you die by the law, If you live by the law, you die by the law. And, but I would say, even if it was bad from that perspective, and even if we don't know exactly who God is, whoever the Almighty is, he allowed it to happen. It's indisputable. He allowed it to happen, or he's not strong enough to stop it. And there's some other God out there that's destroying the Almighty God's power. No, I don't believe that.
I agree completely, because Paul says the law was the schoolmaster. But like I said, I believe that law formed under the umbrella of Judaism, which Jesus, even when he came,
What's up?
the Pharisees were looking at him in Mark 1 and they said,
Just waiting for someone to show up. What's up, MT Paranormal Life? Hope you enjoy this, and I hope somebody gets something out of this because I think it's going to be quite shocking. No, it shouldn't be so shocking, but I'm trying to find the image. I had it. Anyways, I'll go this way. So this is a blurry image, but it's going to be something of quite profoundness, actually. So, anyways, so the place, going back to the same old place, and it's turning out that actually, ironically, one of the best places for me to do field research is in my neighborhood. It's actually my neighbor's yard. And neighbor's yard. And I'm the guy that was with cameraman the other. Oh, Mike, how's it going, man? Are you the guy that was out there all by yourself? Hey, man, I'm going to send an invite. I don't know how free you are, but I love to talk to you. So I'm going to send an invite. You don't have to join if you don't want to, but if you want to join, I've sent the link. I think I've sent the link. There it is. And hey, man, I love to talk to you. Anyways, because I love to talk to you about what you're going through and compare notes and what you went through the other night and what I'm going through and Bigfoot research and all that kind of stuff. So please come join me. There's nothing to hurt. You know, there's no pain here. I mean, if you can be out there all by yourself in the woods all night. So anyways, the point I'm going to point out this image right here is this right here. Now let's look back at the sun rays that took this picture last. Yeah, come on right now, man. Just join me. No big deal. There's nobody here. Let's make a show out of it. Talk nuts. So in July of last year, I was taking some images in the neighborhood from my backyard, and I was, when I take images and pictures, I just, whatever happens. I'm not really expecting anything. So, and I was seeing how the sun rays was interacting with the leaves, and I think that's pretty cool. Yeah, man. Yeah, that'd be awesome to talk to you. I'd love to hear what you have to say. So, anyways, so this is not light refraction going on here. The reason why I know that is if you look at the rest of the rays and the way that the rays are going in pretty much straight lines all the way through, right? But then there's this bent. What I've noticed is this what spirits a lot of times are when they're captured on film. They got this like. Now you could say, "Oh no, that's light refraction," but just pay attention to the movement and the bending of the light of these rays. It makes absolutely no sense. Even if you were to go back up again and look at so we see the rays going through the branches, right? And then all of a sudden, boom, if it was going to be light refraction, it would be right around here where the leaves are. This is coming like this and going like that. And that makes no sense if it's light refraction. What's going on, Steve? Thank you for joining. Hopefully Mike's going to be showing up with us. That'd be interesting. The guy that was supposed to be with us, he stood me up, and it turns out it was probably a good thing. So he's got a lot of issues, honestly, and so I don't know if I want to be wrapped up with what he's into right now. Bad news, really. So yeah, this is. I noticed that spirits when we capture they have this bending of the light. Now this is. I had a hell of a time filming anything. Good. I'm glad you're here. Hell of a time filming anything this evening. The ethereal realm, the air, it was so thick. And by the way, the robins finally showed up. I went out there and the robins were chirping away, man. So that's kind of cool. That means spring is here, man. And I can tell you, there's going to be a lot of interesting images this year. I can tell you that much. And I won't have to go very far. It turns out. But anyways, it's very blurry. But we're going to look at images and all that. And I had a hell of a time focusing on anything. Regardless of all that, remember the image that I showed you here. Let's pay attention to this. Now, it looks really white, right? This is middle of the day, right? This is probably it's probably more like 11 in the mornings. Oh, no, it had to be more like 1 or, no, it had to be probably about 3 or 4. Do I have time stamp on that statement on it? No, I don't. So that one. But this I filmed today is 6:28, just right before dusk, or right at dusk, right before it get dark. And man, things were getting really weird. And I seen a portal right here. The same area. This is the same area where I filmed so many other entities, from alien looking things to Bigfoot looking things to whatever looking things. But I wanted you to pay attention to right here, because it's not going to add up, even with the blurriness. And if you could say it's my fault for movement, and I'll take responsibility, some of it. But it was really a hard time focusing on things. And I think because I was having interference today. Look at this. See this? Here we go. What's up, man?
Hey, what's up?
Mike, thank you for joining me. Hey, folks, this is Mike. He's he hangs out with the cameraman.
I got some audio problems here.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got the echo though.
I don't hear.
Okay, I had another window open by mistake there.
Okay. So that's right, man. It's nice to meet you, man.
You too. I guess
I don't have my green screen. I don't have my green screen. Hold on a second. Let me move my green screen.
Yeah, you can see my mess. I'm not worried about it.
No, that's not what it is. It will look wacky if I don't move it. So just hold on a second. Hey, it's nice meeting you, by the way. What was it like hanging out with Woodland Poltergeist all night?
Well, I tell you what. If you ever if you get a chance to watch my videos, I go down to West Branch by myself and record a lot. I've done it a lot, so I'm familiar with that.
Can you can you put your link in the chat here for everyone? If that's something you can do, okay. And then okay. So West Branch, man, famous West Branch, man. That's a heck of a place, Seems like everywhere you go, there's something going on. And it's definitely in Ohio. We got a lot of high strangeness. I don't know if it has, I'm starting to think with my research, Mike, that the Indian burial mounds really do have an influence on a lot of what's going on here. So just saying.
Yeah. The history with Ohio and, the native culture, it's almost impossible to say that in most places that there's probably you're probably going to interact with probably native spirits and where I've gone, I've captured EVPs that were speaking native tongues. And once I heard that, I have you call her a spiritual guide or a spiritual leader. Her name's Ramona, and she's been helping me learn some different things to say in different native languages. And
Okay.
you know, especially in West Branch, for sure, you know, there's mounds all through there, and we believe they're burial mounds, most likely native.
Um, yeah, there is. I think that I'm living on. Well, first of all, where I'm at is Sylvania, Ohio. I don't care. If anybody wants to come, you can. But I'll just tell you, you're wasting your time because this stuff happens everywhere. You just have to be, I guess, in the right state of mind and in the right places around your area. So that's how I see things, right? So if you, because I film most of my stuff at this point, Mike, in my neighbor's yard from my front porch. You know what I mean? So it's, but I do have a lot of there's some high grounds here, and which says a lot from where I'm at because I'm a flatlander, right? Northwest Ohio is flat as a pancake, as I'm sure you know.
Yeah, I heard you talk about that.
I don't know if you've been to Northwest Ohio, and if you haven't, I don't blame you because there's probably not a reason to go here unless you have family. But in this area where I'm at, there's a lot of some old trees. It's called Sylvania because it's the tree city, right? A lot of old trees, right? Mature trees, and there's cemeteries all over the place, and there's a lot of high strangeness here, that's for sure. But I noticed your guys are going out in the woods and having basically the same thing that I'm having in my neighborhood. I don't know. What do you think about that? I mean, I just posted something that looks just like a Bigfoot that manifested in my neighbor's yard. You know what I mean? I've had things that look like aliens that manifest me. In fact, this same area what we're looking at here right now, this blurriness. I saw a portal open up in June of last year. I remember it was the first Tuesday of the month. It's like 1:30 in the afternoon. And I'm like, what's going on? Why am I going through this? And because I'm not like practicing any weirdness, you know what I mean?
You know, one thing when you were talking to the cameraman on the live stream, I watched that, and
Cool.
one of the things that you said that I think there's something to it, and even when I heard you say it, it was like you were kind of reading my mind, and that was, there's a lot of seeing orb type of lights and things, and like where I was going was not too far off of where the cameraman was going before we started getting together. And we started talking to each other because we wanted to see what we had been experiencing in our different areas that we go. And he showed me those thermal images. And when he showed me that thermal image, I kid you not, probably a week before that, I seen something when I was there at an old abandoned cemetery in the old park where I go.
Okay.
And what I seen was a creature is what it looked like. It had texture. It looked like a physical being of some kind, but it wasn't a human. It moved with two legs and it moved very fast. I saw it as I happened to turn back towards a direction, and it cleared between trees. And one of my friends was with me that night, and he saw it. And it's very hard to describe, but I saw the thermal images Jack showed me a week later, and I started wondering, like, could this be maybe what I saw? And when you notice, like, I seen the other photos he had, and what looks like orbs that will move. You could see them in the photos, and they're going up, and then it looked like one orb went into another orb, and it disappeared. And
Yeah.
then something about the heat signature for the orb, and when you look at the heads, what looks like the head of the heat signature of the being, which is really, like Jack said, it's really amazing, those pictures and what they could be. And when you talked about how maybe somehow that the orb or whatever that energy is actually is projecting or making the body of what it could be, what it looks like, or somehow it makes it. It becomes one. It can separate.
I bet this is a terrible image. It's not gonna look great. But I don't know if you guys can look at this very carefully. I filmed this Tuesday of last week, and if you pay attention, if you really kind of pay attention to what's going on here, is I mean, I didn't tweak the image or filter it or do anything. So, but there's a lot of things going on here, and I want you to pay attention right here.
Yeah.
Do you see a circle?
Yep.
Now, if you pay attention to what's around the circle and you look right here, and it's not a branch, it looks like a branch, but it's not. If you look closely, there's a hand right here. And if you look a little carefully, and I know it's like, Mike, you're just seeing things. I wish I was just seeing things, to be honest with you. That thing, I don't, can you kind of see like the faint outline? How's it going, Damon? Of like something holding onto like a ball, like an orb.
If I'm looking at it, it would be on the right.
So the ball's right here.
Well, no,
The orb.
Yeah.
You can see the outline of it, right? It's there. Then you can see this is actually, and I'm filming all the time these long like black arms and stuff popping out of trees and all that. It looks like a branch at first, right? But it's not a branch.
Yeah.
And then there's a hand right. Actually, this orb actually has more than one hand, but there's another hand right here. Now, I mean, you can almost see another face actually manifesting in here. It's got to give me a break here because when I filmed this during the day, and it's like, it's up in the tree about 45 feet, and it is at least 35 to 40 yards away, and I wasn't focusing on it. I didn't know what I was filming at the time, right? But there's a lot going on here, and I know we've been conditioned to think everything's pareidolia, but not everything's pareidolia. Just put it that way. And this is another example. This is where it's at. Okay.
Yeah, I see it there.
Now this goes along with my theory about the orbs and the trees, and the trees are just becoming more and more clear to me that the trees is kind of like the highway between what the Native Americans called the underworld, which is the soil and the ground, the water table, the root systems. You know what I mean? The trunk represents where the middle world is, also where the upper world and where the underworld meet. Right? It's like and I think these things, spirits, use the trees as kind of like a highway, and the trees are kind of really, I mean, I'm starting to see guys that I guess are paying attention to some of the things I'm saying, or being led by the same forces. I mean, they're putting like different meters in front of the trees, and the EMF is registering from these trees where they had either sightings or encounters, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, and I'm just, it's all conjecture and theory at this point, but it's starting to line up. That what was said in the past is in the present. Nothing's changed, but in other words, we just now catching up or to what we lost. How's it going, Lorna? Hey, Sheldon, it's good to see you, buddy. Yeah. I don't know if you hear
to touch on that,
but
I was going to say, I feel that not just humans, but whatever else is there, everything, whether like what Jack said, whatever you think a Sasquatch is or Bigfoot is, throw it out. But whatever it is that's over here by us here, whatever these beings are, or even just the spirits of those who have passed, I feel we're all connected through the earth, through Mother Earth. And every time I go anywhere, I always will offer tobacco to Mother Earth and I connect with the ground and I speak because I just feel like whatever's there can hear or even feel what I'm saying, what I'm trying to say, or what I'm trying to communicate. Because I know the areas we go, what's there has been there long before we've been there.
Oh
And
yeah.
we're the visitors. We're the ones there that are basically could be considered intruders or trespassing, if you would say. So I always communicate my intent and the fact that I know I call them the protectors, like
Yeah.
being that I saw, or even whatever's there, because it's to me, it feels like they're there to guard and protect the land. So I try to communicate that I understand, that that's their land and we're there to visit. But I also know that even though we're all not human, the things that are there are not human, but we all have a connection through the earth, through the land, Mother Earth. And I try to connect with that whenever I go anywhere, even if I just go investigate somewhere at somebody's house. I usually always make a point to stop on the ground and offer a tribute and try to communicate.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm filming that there are humans in these trees. They look just like humans. I mean, I could show you some images if you want. You maybe haven't had a chance to see it in my lives this week, but I mean, I filmed. You heard of the white witch? You ever heard of that theory that a lot of times people see like the white witch or the woman in white when they're seeing
I've
Bigfoot?
heard of I've heard of something like that. I'm not sure if it's the same that you're talking about, but
I filmed that, and it literally, and it has a Bigfoot, by the way.
hmm.
And I'm more than happy to share it with you. But before we get there, I just want to go back to what you're saying, but I'm bouncing on with some images here. If I see where it is. So, anyways, if we look at this and just say I'm right, and it's not just pareidolia, that there's actually something going on there. We talk about the orbs and how the orbs are connected. Let's say it could be come up to two things. It could be several things actually. Let's say it's an energy source in which these things attach to and work with to help them manifest. Maybe to come into the physical realm or whatever. Maybe they actually project the image of the entity. That's a high probability as well. I mean, there's several possibilities, but there is an association between the two, right? We go back to the image because I'm sure that Jack's not going to mind of his image.
Yeah.
At least right here, that's going on here and going on here.
Mm-hmm.
And then if we go back to this image, remember this is at about before 1:30 a.m. on Monday, so I'm dealing with light and everything else, right?
Right.
And just, but I mean, you can see some other things going on around here too that a little bit suspect. Not to say that they are associated with, because you know how it is. It's when you do this, it's like, every time you think you got it figured out, just like the Fortean thing that it is, not the Fortean experience that we're having. Every time you think you got it figured out, well, it's just like they say, it's like finding a needle in a haystack of needles. It's just one more thing after one more thing after one more thing. So this is where then when people come in and are saying, well, there's nobody who's an expert. Well, I see where they're coming from. I mean, we're an expert, though, in our own experience, that there is inconsistencies, high strangeness associated with our Bigfoot research. And that's what, it's undeniable. Anybody that's been doing this any length of time, right? I mean, there's just no way of getting around it. And the spiritual aspects seem to be a very much a part of it. And I'm seeing not only myself, but other people filming entities that look very shamanistic looking, very Indian looking, and looking from the past. Like, and I was thinking about something today, and I and I'm just hypothesizing this, and I don't know how I'll be able to prove it, but it does make a lot of sense. Now, if you think about it, if you were in a culture, if say 300 years ago, nothing like we are today, right? 300 years ago, that's like, what is that? Maybe 6 to 8 generations ago. In the Americas, when you were very much connected to the land, very much connected to the trees, very much connected to nature, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks. I said, I wouldn't be surprised that many, many, many cultures even had each individual, say in a tribe or the culture, would adopt a tree. Now, hear what I am saying, because I've seen this with other cultures too, and I see this also in New Agers and all that. And New Agers aren't all that original in what they're thinking is. They think they are, but they're not. Imagine that you saw the sacredness of these trees. I mean, especially old, very mature trees. Trees that are 100, 200 years old, whether an oak tree, a maple, or whatever it may be, right? I mean, today we still have people that venerate old trees throughout the world, right? Whereas in Africa or India, even here in the United States, there's some interesting things we could learn about that. What if these they in their past, in their culture, that they venerated these trees as kind of like shrine or as an altar to their gods, you know what I mean? In which they did things like gifts and rocks and tree leans and axes and twists and all these. First of all, let's think about things. Okay, say you found this tree that you found very sacred and you wanted to be able to find it again. What would you do to get to that tree? You would make markers to help you get along the way.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so you have these markers, and so there's the X and the tree lean, and so I'm going the right direction. Maybe it's twists, or maybe it's breaks. You know what I mean? It depending on how long, if it's something that's just well established, and it's going to come, and you want other people that in your tribe to go to this tree or this area where the tree is associated with, then you would have markers along the way. And one of the best ways to do it, especially if you are coming from this area, right, where it's predominantly forests, the best way to make markers would be that tree leans, axes, etc. Even some pseudo form of a teepee, right, structure that that you and the people in your culture would understand and recognize, would have meaning to you guys. So today we don't have that meaning, but they would have that meaning, right? That would lead them to this tree. And in this tree, then, if we look at what all the old cultures and all the mythology, just not even in the United States, North America, but through all of Eurasian, etc., in which people venerated the trees, and they had the Greenman and everything else, and there were certain trees in which they would have spiritual experiences with, aka they interacted with the spirits in that area. Do you hear where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
Does it make any sense? I wonder if because this place is, the more you study and research this, what we call the planet, this Earth, this system, there's so many things that are very mystical and don't make sense. They don't add up. Now, I have a scientific background, so for me, it's kind of disturbing when you start really looking into things and you realize over and over again sort of things that you were taught. And I already got to fix my again. I'm so sorry whether that was rude. I mean, I have to show myself. No, the camera's nuts. I had my son yesterday and he messed with my camera too, and I didn't. Anyways, just kind of see me. So what if what we're dealing with is like a memory of the past, if that makes any sense? How do I say this?
Somehow something managed, or somehow there's something that is still around that has been doing the same thing as it did before, even today, but obviously it's not human, but it's it's following like a pattern of almost like you would think behavior of some kind of a being of some kind, like it would make markers so it knows where to go, but what it can do obviously doesn't seem like it's a human. It's not human like, but it's
Well, it may
using techniques or ways to navigate which would seem more like something humans would do.
it would have the memory of what humans did and the humans that they
Okay.
interacted with,
Right.
or that they interacted with these humans and it's and in a much
Okay.
more
Yep.
deeper way than you and I understand. You see, we don't understand how the relationship that the indigenous populations in this area had with Sasquatch, Bigfoot, and all these different things that we call cryptids today, or we call big, right? I mean, we don't, we really don't, right? We kind of, but we really don't. What's up, Josh, man? How you doing, man? And so, what if what's happening here, and if we can think of more like parallel universes running alongside of themselves, and people talk about how in this whole idea of parallel universes that and there's also this whole idea of how shifting of time, and so what if there's like something's happening in our time, but really I mean we see the physical results in our time, but actually happened hundreds of years ago or thousands of years ago, and it's just manifesting itself today.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I mean, that's I'm following what your theory is. I'm see, for me, I started doing this because of an experience which had to deal with EVPs and actual communication through devices that were intelligent and spoke to me. And that's where I sparked an interest in trying to understand what's there. And one thing I found out, West Branch is kind of really, kind of like evolved me into, like, I realize now there are more things than just what you think you're hearing as a spirit, like maybe residual energy or something that's intelligent from somebody who passed away. After being in my areas doing the research I have, listening to EVPs, filming, communicating, and actually seeing something, that's what really did it for me. When I actually seen what I seen, there is no doubt that there's things there and they're not human, but what are they? And then getting with Jack and seeing what his team has been putting together with their evidence, I realized that there's there are beings there, and there's a whole lot of mystery to them, what they are. That's kind of starting to pull me that direction. The whole moment when I saw whatever it was I saw.
What did you see?
It
And what's it? What there's an
I can
echo
try
going
to
on.
I'm going to try to describe it the best way I can. I was I call it's an old abandoned cemetery that used to belong to a family that owned part of the property in West Branch before the state took it, before they sold it. And that abandoned cemetery is still there. They excavated their family's remains though to a plot over out of town. So it's
Right.
abandoned, but there's part of the old bases still there. And I go there a lot because I get a lot of activity there, a lot of EVPs. West Branch like makes me work hard because I get so many EVPs that just come out of nowhere. But I was up there filming, and I just happened to look towards the one direction, towards what I call like the back of the cemetery. It's like a rectangle. And I was talking to Declan, a friend who was with me, and then we both saw it. We saw something about half of it clear the tree as it went from one to another, and it was moving very fast, and we didn't hear anything. But
Sure.
I saw texture to it. I saw what looked like legs, because it would look like I could see its legs moving for that split second. And I saw a bigger torso, but it was real shiny but real textured. Like this was not any kind of like mist apparition or any kind of shadow. This was something, an actual like being. and it had a weird shape. But the one thing that stood out was like it said, "Oh, have a good night, buddy." My son's going to work. It had, I call it like, the best way I could describe it is almost Medusa-like. Like there was something about its head. There was a lot going on with its head. Very strange like.
Sure.
I mean, this was all this I had, like when I saw it, I absorbed all of this in one flash of a moment. But it was very, it was real, and it was there, and somehow we were able to see it. Like to me, it seemed like whatever this was really fast, really quiet, but somehow we happened to catch it as it ran right, in between trees. And that, if you watch the video, because he was filming, but I was in front of him, and I turned back that way, and the camera saw me looking that way. We didn't actually get a shot of it. But if you see me, probably one of the only times when I've actually froze and was scared was that moment when I seen it, because it just hit me like I'm looking at something and it's not a human being, but it's alive. And I just seen it make part of a run clearing behind a tree. All that sunk in, and I was like deer in headlights for a couple seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what changed. That's what West Branch did to me. It made me kind of like start trying to look into a different direction than what I was originally doing.
I've had, first of all, I'm sorry about the echo. It's gone now. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, I can hear you. I haven't had
the echo went away. So I've had numerous sightings just like that, where you see something real fast and you're like, what?
Yeah.
And some that look much like Bigfoot or Sasquatch and other things I don't know. So it makes a lot of sense. And once you have those sightings, or you have a really like a close up, I've had a couple of really close up encounters that changed my life forever. Thanks, Sheldon, for letting me know that. And so, but I want to share with you this image because I filmed this on Monday. Was high strangeness, the whole thing. I mean, last week, from something rotating my hubcaps on top of my frickin', the valves, stem valves, and almost having no air to get to my doctor's appointment, which when I went to Tire Man, I was like, well, how did this happen? I said, well, the Tire Man, the guy said, oh, we have a lot of new guys. And I remember the guy that rotated my tires and patched the one 3 months ago. And I'm like, no, he knew what he was doing. And I didn't have any problems until the 12th of this month when I had a sighting of an orb and something in the sky. Anyways, it's high strangeness as usual. And always when it happens for me is when I start talking about this stuff. But I want you to look at this image. So, and everyone else look at this image because I want you to know it's blurry and all that. But remember, this is in my neighbor's yard. And this is spirit. This is the head right here, okay? Because it's going to lead to something more. It's just not about me bragging about anything. There's two eyes. There's an eye here and there's an eye here. There's this kind of this wrinkly up, shriveled up face. You can actually kind of see the outlines of some teeth, the pushed in nose, the chin. It's this lady. It looks like a lady with hair. It's got some kind of shawl or something over her head. There's an entity right next to her head. There's a little baby here or some young thing here, right? And it goes down here, and I will show you. See, I'm going to make sure I go the right direction here. Am I going the wrong direction? Okay. Because there's a point here. I want to show you something. Okay, so here she is now. Is this the full image of her? No, this is just the other side of her. I want to show you the foot. I'm going to need to show you the whole image. I'm not here to freak you out. I'm here to share something. We'll go for here now, and then I'll find the full image. Because I do believe that we're dealing with multiple entities in those trees, and they're more than Bigfoot. So as this goes down, this is actually and there's energy being emitted, right? You can see the red in it in the middle of the day. And I do believe this is an expression of electromagnetism and like an EMF. But this is like an kneecap. You can see something going on here. But I really want you to pay attention to this. This is the upper thigh. This is the under of the thigh. This is the kneecap. This is the ankle. And this is the foot, the heel. And if you go on, you'll see this and big toes and a big foot. I could find the right image for you guys because I wasn't planning. Mike just showed up. Thank you, Mike. Mike, thank you for showing up. The guy that was supposed to be with, he turned out to blow me off. But I do believe in synchronicity, and I believe that it was purposeful. And because you and I were supposed to have this conversation, not him. He was not mature enough to have this conversation. He's a young guy, and but he had some cool images. But this is the fuller image of her and she's in a tree. You can see she's wrapped up in the branches, right? And the more you look at it, you're like, Mike, that's not pareidolia. Now I'm going to ask you, the other Mike, Mike, is that pareidolia? Does that look like pareidolia to you, first of all? Can you see what I see? Can the rest of you guys see what I see? Sheldon, work WC7, Lorna, and everybody else. Can you guys, okay, I'm going to ask you one or two. If one, can you guys see what I see? A woman perched in those branches. Or two, you can't see anything. Now, I haven't tweaked this image. Only thing I did is I took the picture, I magnified it, and I snipped it. One. So far.
I can see the shape of it. I can definitely see it with the
You
full
see
image. I can see the full image, and I could see the flow from the head down to the leg to the foot.
There's actually a head right here too. It's really weird how these things are. There's actually an entity or like a baby looking thing right here.
Yeah,
this is her head, and she's all kind of in there and there. And I think it's important that we talk about this, Mike. I'm not out to try to scare you from doing what you're doing, because that's not what I'm out about to do. But I do think that we should 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Okay, you guys can see something, and it's not paranoid. So I just want to make sure that I don't need to have my eyes checked or something like that, or I need to go see a shrink or something, right? I filmed this in my neighbor's yard on Monday. And people ask, well, what are you doing that's wrong? And I say, I'm not doing anything, and I'm a God-fearing, I believe in God. And I'm very open and vocal about God. And I don't push that on anybody else. So the only thing I can think of is maybe because I'm vocal and open, that maybe it attracts spirits my way. And I don't know if you ever heard of this, but I'm thinking this. Guys, I've been theorizing this. Why is it so easy for me to film this stuff? I know about the hitchhiker concept and all that kind of stuff. But I think there's more going on here. And I think, why is it so easy for me to film this stuff? And is it because I have any special gifts? I don't think I have any special gifts. In fact, if anything, I'm one of them. I'm a dullard and not all that impressive. I'm just a below average dude. So why is it happening to me? And I don't think it's just me. I think there's a lot of other people that have this ability. They feel it and sense it, but they don't have like something like a good camera, like a P900, and they don't. No one ever said, "Hey, you ever think about putting your camera up in the trees and or filming up in the trees and taking images?" And it's kind of the same idea with Scott. And see, I knew Scott back in 2017. I figured this stuff out on my own. Then I found out about Scott, and then we did a couple of interviews, and we talked about this, about filming from our sides and from behind us and all that kind of stuff, right? Duking them and all that kind of. So, but what it is just basically I don't spend a lot of time taking photos, right? I just take a few, and it might take 5 minutes, and I'd like, I got the rest of my life to live. So, but it's in that tree, and it's a revelation to me. And I do believe the moment I started being open about the fact that there's more than what meets the eye and what we're dealing with, and that they were coming out of the trees, things started manifesting. Now, I don't know if this is some form of, how do we say this? Summoning, causing this to manifest because of my own intent and attention. But what's going on here is as I'm filming entities out in the trees, aka in the forest. Sylvania is the city of trees, and there's still at least in certain parts of town, there's still trees that are, at least 80 to 100 years old. I think that makes a difference, having mature trees around the area. And I just want to bring that up to you because when you're looking for big footprints, I think we're making a mistake by assuming that they're all Sasquatch. Does that make sense? We don't know that they're all Sasquatch. But if you look at this entity and the exaggeration of her foot, and you can see how size of her toes and her foot, what could it make? Just going to bring up the possibility, and it's something to think about, everybody. I'm not saying I'm right or wrong. I'm just saying, think about this. What if there's other entities that can make big footprints besides Dogman and Bigfoot?
It would seem that those who do tracking, that go out and they look for beings, cryptids, you call them, right? Beings like this that you, when you're out looking for them, or you could basically say tracking them, to always like be aware or be open-minded to not traditional footprints, or not, you know what I mean? Like, not dismiss something that might be a track if it doesn't fit the normal shape.
Or well, let's just say we see something. That's what my point is saying. If you see something that's very human-like, and I know we've been told over and over and over and over and over again that it has to be Sasquatch or Bigfoot.
Right.
What I'm arguing is it doesn't have to be Bigfoot.
Right.
It has a big foot.
Right.
But when we talk about Bigfoot, we're thinking of the traditional images of Patty in the Patterson film, or the other different types and that kind of stuff. Whether it's a grass man or whether it's a dog man or whatever. Everyone's it's like the human-like footprints. But I'm just saying that because I just think being investigators, we need to be on. I think we need to be as a little more open-minded about what we're experiencing, what we're seeing. We can't just say it has to be a Bigfoot, especially if we haven't seen the Bigfoot make the footprint. And if we can find other entities in the trees that have big feet. Now, this is one of my arguments too, is these things, whatever these spirits are, they can shrink in size into the size of an orb and fit into the tree. They can now manifest when they have enough energy and become a larger form and even become human size or bigger. There has to be that relationship, because how can we have these numerous, including my own encounters and sightings, where Bigfoot goes into a tree and disappears.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't cloak. It goes into a tree and bye-bye.
Right.
That means it's been absorbed. It's somehow, some way, has been absorbed into the tree.
Well, one experience. Now, I do paranormal research. I'm trying to find where there's activity and see if I can capture any voices, see if there's any residual intelligent or not intelligent energy or communication. And then it just, I started, like I said, West Branch really changed a lot of stuff for me, because that's what I was doing there. And what I ran into was way more than I expected. But, Josh from Squash Topic, PA.
Yeah, I interviewed him.
Okay.
Hey, Josh.
I went down and
he's the reason why I have to be honest, and all kudos go to Josh, because it wasn't Josh, I would have known Biggie, and then I would have known about the cameraman, and now
right.
and Trapper. Now I know you. If it wasn't for Josh, I would have known any of you guys.
Yeah,
due to synchronicity, we're all gelling together here. So
right,
we're all running together here. So
right, and that's where
to you, Josh. Everyone, go over to Sasquatch Topics PA. So
yeah, Squatch Topic PA. Yeah,
Squatch Topic PA.
Squatch Topic PA. Yeah, I met Josh through another channel. A lot of the people who watch my channel, found me and followed me through Bigfoot channels, channels like the Cameraman channel and Squatch Topic. And I met Josh, and we got to talking, and I traveled down to where he's at. And I did a video at a cemetery down there. And then he took me to his site, like his research site, I call it.
Right.
And I spent some time there. He went live, And an experience I had there that really blew my mind, which made me think more about how could something seem like it's right here, but you can't find it. We were there, and then I heard this sound. It sounded like almost like an owl like. Okay, it's hard to mimic it, but it was like a coo, like ooh, real long, kind of cute like, and there's like at the end, but it was deep and it was really loud. And I was standing there and I'm like, this kind of sounded like an owl, but if it's an owl, it's an owl that's like bigger than a person, because you hear how loud it was. And I'm looking around and I'm like, I heard it like 3 times, and it was captured on his live, his live feed. And I'm like, Josh, I'm like, what is that? And he said, that's Chaka. And I'm like, Chaka, he told me about Chaka. And I was like, where is she? I'm looking around. I'm like, it's right there by us. And I'm looking, I'm like, there's nothing here, but this sound is coming right out from like maybe 10, 20 feet from us. And there's nothing there. But this, and then I heard that and I was like, oh, I'm like, wow. I'm like, that was really something. And then I was looking around, I come back, and behind me, I heard like the same kind of like coo sound, but it was really low. Like it was giving me like a warning, I heard like this low, like, and I was like, whoa, I'm like, it's behind me. But I couldn't see anything, but you could hear it. And that was kind of like another eye opener for me, meeting some friends that do that and spending time with them in their areas and getting experiences with things like that. And that was a heck of a moment. I'll never forget that.
Well, I'm sure it was.
Yeah, like literally that this thing sounded like you should look right where you heard the sound, and it should be right there, but there was nothing there.
Yeah, there's so much going on in the woods, and gosh knows who and what and that. So the reason why you came on here was talk about the past couple. Well, how many you were out in the woods by yourself? Just one night this week or 2 nights?
Let me think. The last time I was out at West Branch by myself was probably about 2 weeks ago. I did a live stream from the old abandoned cemetery area.
Now, you seem to be one of these guys that seems to be able to go places and not be having an issue with it. What is it about you that makes you so? Because there's a lot of people that go out and they field. I pretty much am a solo dude myself, right? That's only because of circumstances. You know what I mean? I had no other choice. So, but why you? Why? I mean, middle of the night, all by yourself. What's going on?
Well,
it's an important question.
A little bit of it has, I think, when I started doing it, a little bit of it had part to do with like facing your fears, right? Like we were talking about facing the darkness, right?
Yes.
Like almost like a test.
It is a test.
And what's funny is even if it's not something like just that, whether it's just like things you're afraid of normally, actually facing that fear and doing it. And then once you get interested and just have experiences that got me kind of going that way, I was like, okay, I started having experiences. My first experiences down at West Branch. That was the first place I started like doing investigating, and somebody else was with me. And I was like, you know what? I'm like, I was caught up by the activity and I'm hearing my name. It almost seemed like there was a connection with me. So one time I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to go down there by myself. I'm going to go live, because I tell you what, West Branch is a very, very dark place. I mean, it's so dark down there. It's crazy. And I'm like, I'm going to go there by myself, do a live stream and see what activity I get.
Now, when you say dark, are we talking about?
I mean, like no light, like the light's blocked from all the trees, like there's like no light getting through the trees.
It's closer to what things used to be before electricity, that kind of thing, right?
Right.
There's no that EMF, there's not a lot of EMF or electrical light pollution. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. What I mean dark is, I mean, just like, like the lack of light getting through because of all the trees. It's just a very like dark and just feels, it's a very eerie feeling place when you're there because of how dark it seems.
Sure.
It's like a mental thing. But then when you get to know it, it's more than a mental thing, because You know, when you see certain things and when you hear things, you know, you realize there's things there that you can't explain, and that adds a little extra element of, you know, of being cautious, I guess.
Yeah. You know, that's what I'm getting at too. Is one of the things I'm getting at is it's a reminder that our elders and our ancestors dealt with this on a nightly and 24-hour basis. And how did they get to the point where they were comfortable with it and understood it and had that balance of
Well,
dealing with the spirits of the night and darkness? You know what I mean? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, I was going to say that actually seems to connect with me a lot, because when I started hearing voices talking to me through my recorder, I started hearing the EVPs, not necessarily messages through like a spirit box, but actual EVPs, hearing voices talking to me. And
Right.
West Branch was like, I mean, I'm telling you what, if you ever want to have like an exercise in how to practice like hearing EVPs for your own, like go to West Branch and go down there and record. I mean, I get so many things, you can just hear things. But when I started hearing these, I started trying to relate. That's why like the whole basis of my channel was trying what I call bridge the gap between the living and the dead. I was trying to do like, let's see if I keep going, because I've been going already before I started my channel. And I'm like, let's see if somehow there ends up being a connection, like a relationship. Like they're saying, I hear my name, I hear names, and well, I hear the same names again. And that's what I started doing. And it was all off of that area in West Branch.
Right.
And that right there kind of made me like, I kind of had a respect for, I understand there's things here that we don't understand what they are. And some of them definitely seem like they've been there a lot longer than we've been there. And what I seen, especially that thing, whatever it was, could have just anytime, I'm sure it's been there is way before I've been there, but it knows I'm there.
Right.
Anytime it wanted to, it probably could have hurt me if it wanted to hurt me. And I would not even know.
And that's one thing we're learning about this stuff is there's very few people that actually get hurt by this stuff. So
Yeah. And that made me realize that, you know, it's more of like, to me, I understand, I kind of have an understanding of the connection, and I understand my place, I guess you could say. My place isn't like, this is my park, you know, you're not real, whatever you are, you don't have any power. Some people have an attitude like that. Me, I understand I'm limited with what, just as a human being, what I can do. And I've already seen and kind of have an understanding of things that have more power than me, things that are different than me, that, you know, if you want to try to place them on a chain, they're above me.
yeah.
So I show that respect. And that's why I refer to those as the protectors, because to me, that's what they are. And I try to communicate with them and basically just let them know I'm here to visit. This is your land. I'm not trying to take anything from you. And that relationship to me feels like it's actually connecting.
Yeah.
And so I think maybe in the past, those who have like had experiences like that, maybe there's others who put that together, and over time that came to be like a relationship. And that's how maybe that evolved to who knows how long. You know, for me, it hasn't been that long, 6 months or so. Something like our ancestors, you know, like who knows how long some of the people who lived here before had a relationship like that, and how it could have ended up, you know, how that could have ended up. So I can kind of see that, you know.
So I don't know why I'm getting an echo. You guys hear the echo? But anyways, yeah, this is who Bigfoot is in my book. I know it's comical, right? The Lorax,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I
But
heard you
you know
talking
what?
about the Lorax. Yeah.
Yeah, things are always hidden in plain sight, right?
Yeah.
In this world. And it was assumed to be just a simple children's story about the environment. But yes, I believe that Sasquatch, Bigfoot, um, all the different names, the Kitchisabe, grassmen. What did I say that already? Boogers, etc. That's what I mean. They know about this stuff. They just made a children's story about it and put it in there, knowing full well that the average human being in our day doesn't know jack squat about anything. So, because we've been so disassociated, connected with. And so, this is a guy that I filmed because it was High Strangeness on last Monday. Like I said, they made sure to prepare and make sure that I was going to film the last week. And there was a reason for it. I believe that they want to be heard. And this is an image of an entity that I filmed in a tree that looks an awful lot like a Bigfoot. And in fact, there's a guy out there. Mike, do you know about the guy Midwest Bigfoot Research, whatever it is? You know the guy that was on, he's been on Confessionals, and he did that story about him and growing up with Bigfoot in Michigan. And
I'm not familiar with it, but to be honest, I mean, I haven't really been getting into that side of things for, except for very recently. So
yeah,
it's all new for me.
Yeah, well, you're probably better off in your situation, to be honest with you, not being polluted by all the nonsense that's been going on for the past 2 decades. But anyways, yeah. So if you ever guys get to see, and I can't remember his name, but he's writing a book, and he wrote a book, and he did illustrations and drawings of him hanging out with like these juvenile Bigfoots in a Michigan version of a Bigfoot, right? I live right on the border of Michigan and Ohio. I mean, literally, I could, if I had a baseball, I could throw it to due north and it would cross the Michigan line. That's how close I am. His drawings look exactly like that entity, that type of a Bigfoot. Okay?
Okay.
And I just want you guys to know that when you see his book, because a lot of people think he's full of crud, and there's reasonable reasons to think that, because of all the people how we've been just messed with by all these booksellers and people trying to profiteer from all this stuff. But his images of his Bigfoot look just like that dude in the face. Just like that guy. And he had thin fur, and he had this kind of, so when you look at that, because I filmed that, and I just want you to know that, there's another version in our area, this type of the version, one of the types that I have in this Michigan, Ohio region. And if you guys remember, if you know what I'm talking about, if you could remind me, it's Midwest Bigfoot Research something or another. I think his name might be ours. It might be Mike as well. I'm not sure. Or is it Steve? Or I can't remember what his name is, but he was on Confessionals about a month or two ago, and he went to this talking about his whole story as a child, and how he was interacting with this family of Bigfoot, and how the government got involved and they shot some of them and all that kind of stuff. But anyways, my point in all this too is there's two things going on here. So he's saying these things in the physical form. Wait, what's going on, Jared? And they look just like that face. And I'm filming this thing, and that thing is easily 45 to 50 feet in the air in that tree. And the only thing you can see is its head. And this possibly is his arm, part of his body, but it also looks like somebody else's head too. But God knows how they work this thing out. But his head's just pointing there. You can actually see his hand. I'm not I'm not trying to be braggadocious about any stuff, because that's not what it's about. My point is I want us to take it to the next level. I mean, this scary story stuff has just got to stop. I know in the beginning stages, for some people, that's what they want. They just want to be entertained. But for some of us who really want to know the truth, got to stop. This whole thing that I mean, here's a guy I'm talking to right now, who's been all night in the woods, or pretty close to spent time in the woods, a long time in the woods, all by himself in the dark in the woods, and he's still around.
Still here.
And so I just want to, and I'm still here too. And these things, and these spirits are all around me, and I haven't, they're not tormenting me or torturing me. I'm not saying that stuff doesn't happen. I do believe that there are certain things. I mean, I know people, I've interviewed people. I know some very wonderful people who have had actually terrible experiences, but I think I am not sure. I think part of it is an attitude thing, and I think that if you're driven by fear the whole time about this stuff, then certain entities will take advantage of. Because remember, Sasquatch, Bigfoot, Grassman, et cetera, Ketchisave, they're not alone. They're accompanied by a whole bunch of different spirits, the spirits of the forest. And there's no way of getting around that. There's no way of trying to avoid. You can pretend that it's not happening. We can continually just share nothing but scary stories, or we can get honest about stuff. That's what we can do and say, listen, when you're dealing with this stuff, you're dealing with something that's ultra dimensional, interdimensional, spiritual, and it's not just something, that you going in the woods with a gun is going to be the solution to it. You know what I mean? Because and it's also, I think it's a calling us back to our roots, all our roots. Now, whether you're from Europe or your roots are from here, we all have come from this northern hemisphere, and whether anybody wants to admit it or not, Eurasia and North America are very much connected to each other, and have been very much connected to each other for thousands of years. And you'll see an overlapping of cultures and ideas, rites and rituals, shamanic rituals. I mean, a lot of times they mirror the exact same thing of what's happening in, say, Siberia or in Mongolia and what's happened here. You know what I mean? And I bring this up not because I'm trying to get anybody to join any religion or any group. I'm here to try to tell you that we're dealing with something that's much more greater than an ape man or a primate or something. It's much more greater, and it's much more interesting. And if we allow it to be so, it will be so. It will be much more interesting. And honestly, I think that as time goes on, there's going to be a lot more of these things happening as we become more aware, and the scales from our eyes are removed, and that big old freaking board in our eyes, right? That log that's in our eyes, it becomes slowly removed, and we learn to accept what was, what always has been, and what is part of this creation. So, and I'm telling anybody to worship these things. I'm not telling anybody to become friends with these things. To me, it's like this. And by the way, a lot of these things, a lot of this stuff that's in there is actually our real ancestors, real people that somehow use in spirit. I'm talking in the spirit realm, that use the trees to manifest and to move and to traverse this realm from the underworld to the middle world to the upper world and back. Maybe they're trapped. I don't know. Maybe a lot of traditions say that is the case. And other traditions say it's something that is just part of the bigger realm of things in which spirits can do that. And why am I saying this? I guess what I'm saying is that this picture is much bigger, much more grander than what people have been telling us for the past 2 decades. And I think, I see others, the bigger names, it's always the small guys like myself who fall on our swords so that the bigger names can follow along. It's like, it's just the way it is. So we're the cutting edge, and so we're here to tell you what's really going on and what has always been going on. And so anyways, so on this, so you've been doing this for 6 months, and that says something, because you really progressed a lot for 6 months. And I'd love to hear. So you've been here for 6 months. You've been doing this for 6 months. So I would love somebody who's had experiences, who's had and has really thrown themselves into the field to give more insight of how you see it. A fresh new look. That'd be a great idea. Give us a fresh new look, Mike.
Well,
what we're really dealing with. I mean, instead of listening to somebody who's been in the book selling market or on the, and I'm not knocking them. I'm just saying it happens to all of us. When we get conformed into the group or whatever it is, it's very hard for us to break free. So it's nice to get fresh blood to say, hey, what's going on? So, what you know, not what anybody else says,
Right.
what you know.
And
Thank you.
part to that, a lot of people ask me if I watch this show, this show, this show. Honestly, I don't watch any. You know, like it almost. Sorry about that. Because I kind of am going completely on instinct, and from an experience that happened to me and an interest that grew. And one thing I've known, that you can hear voices, you can hear people talking to you through your just recording devices, and that's always been my truth, I guess, that something's there, and I keep interacting. And I tried something at West Branch where I go to the same area and I go back and I go back and I communicate and I try to see, and my outlook, I guess you could say, is that there are voices, whether you want to call it a spirit or someone's energy, or I even have some kind of a theory, I guess, where it's like, like the theory about like portals or interdimensional portals, where somehow what you're hearing from somebody isn't because they're stuck here. They might be somewhere else, but they can talk to you, and you can hear them here. They might not be like right there by you when you hear their voice. They could be somewhere else. And that's why, like, one thing I've noticed is just the oddity of how you can hear so many different voices, but you will be someplace, out like in the woods. And I hear voices saying different things. I hear a man talking and a woman talking, almost like a conversation. And then you can hear another voice that sounds like a boy. And then you hear them talking about you, like you're there, but they don't know you can hear that you can hear them when they're talking. And when you hear that, it makes me wonder, like, where are they? Are they actually right here, or are they somewhere else, but somehow they're able to see or hear us? That's the whole, like, part of me that keeps listening,
Hey,
because I'm trying to see
Mike, hold that thought
yeah.
and reintroduce yourself, because there's new people here. We're
Okay.
from Ohio. I'm in Ohio.
I'm in Ohio. Yeah.
I'm in the Ohio-Michigan border, and he's basically the Ohio-Pennsylvania border, right? Basically.
Northeast.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm in Portage County, kind of by Canton, Akron.
If you could remind people again, if you'd be so generous as to put in the chat room again, your YouTube channel, so if you go there and they can subscribe. Okay.
Yeah, did you get it in the I'll put it in the chat in the studio. Is that where, did you get it?
Yeah,
there?
that's where I'm asking you to do it for them.
Okay.
It's for them.
Sure. Yeah, I did it. Let me put it in there real quick for you again.
Because those people are asking, And,
sure. Here you go. Did it come up again? So make sure I got it right.
Yeah, and then I hope you held that thought. Then I want you to go back to it. It just
Okay.
I didn't mean I just
Yeah.
Well,
my name's Mike. I have a YouTube channel. It's called MT Paranormal Life. That's my initials. MT is my name, Mike Tornincasa. I just started doing paranormal investigating kind of like my own way. I've just been going off of my own instinct and my own connection, and it's been working for me. Like, I'm starting to grow a heightened sense of spiritual activity.
there you go.
And one thing I know, I don't think that you know about it, I've told before, but I have a spirit, a guardian of a woman that is with me. She says she's my guardian angel, and she is a strong presence that protects me. Her name's Charlotte.
Okay.
And she made herself known to me even before I started doing this, maybe about a year ago. And now it's become clearer. And I've had a couple friends of mine that are mediums, kind of like I asked them about it because I had a feeling, and they kind of confirmed it with me. And she's actually let herself be known. When I was doing investigations on video, you can hear her speak in EVPs when I try to communicate with her. She says her name on my devices. It's pretty cool. If anybody likes to see cool interactions, that's one of them that happens with me.
Yeah, that sounds really cool, man. So it's because it really is the case that we're dealing with something spiritual first and foremost, that at times manifest in the flesh. And then, I'll give you guys everyone a break as far as the flesh blood group. That there could be some still running around that are flesh and blood, but I honestly think they're ultra dimensional. I think they can manifest in the flesh. I think they don't have to stay in the flesh, though. That's my observation. But I can't speak for everything and everything that's out there. Obviously, I can only speak from my own experience in my own area. So I can't say what's going on in British Columbia or in other parts of Michigan, other parts of Ohio. I can only speak for my own area. So,
but
my own experience.
Listening to them has been my thing. That's what I'm big on. I have my audio recorder going from when I first get to places to the very end, and I listen to it all. And I don't necessarily do sessions where I sit down and do a session for a couple minutes or whatever, record and listen to it. I let it run the whole time because I found you'll hear voices speaking to you when you're just like, when I'm trying to do an investigation, I'm asking questions, seeing if anybody's there. And over time of being there, I've captured voices that will just come in at unknown times. You don't know when they're there. Sometimes they answer you.
Now, is this strictly through electronics, or have you the mind speak? Have you actually had your own personal?
I mean, the EVPs has been mostly what I've heard. I've actually had, I guess you could say, I'm going to assume it's a spirit of someone actually talked to me in between a phone call on my phone before, and it spoke to me and knew who I was, which was the very first real personal experience I ever had. And from that moment on, I really had a lot of questions.
Yeah, as you do.
Yeah, that was something that's one of those things that'll change you if you never have any experiences, and then all of a sudden something says hello Michael in between a phone call. It sounds like a robot, and then you realize something. And the reason why that was related is I had my cell phone recording. I was trying to see if something would talk to me, and then like a month later I just was calling somebody, and then in between the phone call there was this robotic sounding voice that said hello Michael. And I had one of those freeze up moments where I didn't know how to react. I was like, wow, something just acknowledged me and knew my name.
Well, I haven't had a lot of them, but I've had the samurai chatter. Actually, and the gal that lives next to me, when we were taking the garbage out, it's just so happened that we were doing it at the same time. And the samurai chatter started happening to the east of us along the railroad tracks, and we both heard it. We both heard it. She's like, "What is that?" And like a dummy at the time, I was like, yeah, they're just boogers, as if she knew what the heck a boogers were. But we both heard it, and I also had going up my front porch in the early morning and. Mike, how's it going? Or not, it wasn't. It's just Mike. Of course, I responded wrong. I chastised it and rebuked it and all this kind of stuff. But at the time, I didn't know what was going on and it was going. So, but I haven't had a lot of like that. The talk, the mind speak. I just have. But maybe that's because I spend all my time talking to the Lord of all spirits. I don't talk to them. So, and I thought I'm not being religious about any of this stuff. By the way, it's just honestly, I could care what any of you guys believe in and what religion you belong to, or I'm just saying, I just come to realize that there are spirits and there is an overlord or a spirit, a creator God that that's higher than them, and that's who I talk to. Why would you want to me, my thinking is, why would I want to talk? I don't know how I just say that because it sounds so arrogant. Well, ultimately, the ultimate goal for me is I would like to go back to see my creator. That's what it comes down to. So I'm not, I mean, I accept these guys. And I do believe that part of my mission is and belief in my creator God is to bring these guys back into our remembrance. Not, I, how do we say this? Because you're going to hear people that are going to say, "Oh my gosh, if you guys know about this stuff, the next thing you know, everyone's going to become pagan again." Not to say that most people call people pagan aren't pagan, but I'm just saying. I think that in order to be for us to be more in harmony and balance with the creation that which we live in, we need to understand and be more in tune with it again. It's
Right.
not going to happen from education from the modern means. You know what I mean? The public
Right.
school system, the television. The whole world could end up having PhDs in environmental science, and things are still going to keep on going the way they're going until we start to be more rightly aligned with that which was created by the creator in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I see it. Now you can guys, hey Julio, how's it going? Hey, fast man, he's over in Europe and he's filming the same thing we're filming his trees. It just goes to show you. The trees have a huge association with the spirit realm. So, which by the way, this when I wanted to start with this whole show is this. If you guys can see, that's my neighbor's yard. That's what I get to see in my front and my back at times. I get to see all sorts of fun things, and I get to see this dude that I call him the Tree Man, or some people will call it. If you look at images of the Green Man. And you can see him manifesting. And he's big old head and his big eyes. And I was going to talk about maybe do it another time because now we have Mike's here, and I'm very appreciative of being here. And just going to show you about not only the eye shine, but the eye movement and him actually winking at me. But we'll do that another time. But I just want you to, when you're looking at a tree, especially any tree, but especially a mature tree, whether it's a simple raggedy old silver maple or a beautiful red maple or a magnificent oak or whatever it may be, wherever you're at, did you look at it in different light? Now, I'm not saying you'll worship it and do whatever. I'm just saying just look at it in a different light. And I think, you guys are going to have a lot more interesting interactions if you do. I really do mean that. And I'm not just saying that just because I have I'm perfectly happy being a nobody in this world and not ever being part of any big movement or, I'm glad, I'm very grateful that no one ever calls knocking on my door saying, Mike, will you please come to our convention, a Bigfoot convention, and talk about the fact that Bigfoot cuts down the trees? I'm quite happy with that. What I'd rather be is talk to people that actually have ears to hear and eyes to see because this is the next level of understanding and getting us back to where we were supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? I'm not part of any religious movement. I'm not part of any, I've been accused of all sorts of things, from being a heretic to a new ager to being the biggest jerk there ever was to being a Satanist. I've been accused of all sorts. I'm just a guy that lives in Northwest Ohio who believes in God, the creator, and the Lord of all spirits, who's fell into this.
Mm-hmm.
And I truly believe that my job is to bring people like Mike out here in the public and to talk about this stuff and have deeper conversations. Not, and they came after me and it scared me and I almost jumped out of my boots. And listen, if you're going to do this, you're going to have everything under the sun happen to you. There's going to be moments when you're never going to be more terrified in your whole life. And there'll be other moments you're going to be there can never be more bewildered in your whole life. Anyways, this image, and I know I had a terrible time, Mike, this evening, even focusing my camera. I got a P900. It's a very decent camera as far as focusing goes and all that kind of stuff. I couldn't focus on anything. And the reason why that is, I know, is because when the EMF levels are going and the ethereal realm or the spirit realm is charged, it messes with my camera. But I wanted to show you guys some images because if you pay attention to this image, you can see it almost looks like the dude's growing hair out of the tree. And if you can't see it, I'll point it out to you real fast. Okay. There's one eye right here. There's another eye right here. There's his nose, his mouth, his chin, or his beard, and his hair and everything. And I was going to show you some pretty dramatic images if you want me to. And if not, we'll keep talking with Mike. Do you guys want to see any more images, or do you want to keep going with Mike? Because it's up to you guys. I don't want to take away, because I really appreciate that Mike's here. Actually,
Appreciate it.
I had no idea. I mean, I've been watching the videos of you being the Bigfoot bait, right? You're the guy who's the Bigfoot bait, right?
Yeah, a couple times now I've done it.
Yeah,
I've been the bait for him.
So, while I'm looking up these images, why don't you tell us what was it like that when you were being Bigfoot bait and you were sitting under that chair? Because you got under the tree. Because what happened was the video I saw, you called Jack back, and then it pretty much ended, and we never found out what actually happened.
I don't know if you know, but he posted his camera video from that night, and you can watch the actual all of it from the camera, my point of view, with the camera watching me. He just posted that like earlier today.
Okay, so I haven't had a chance. Is it premature to talk about it? Or
no. I mean, we talk about it. What was it like? Well, one of the things that I've noticed at West Branch, especially, is lately, since the season changed, everything's been really negative there. Negative energy, negative replies, and it's consistent. And it wasn't like that before the winter. And when I was there, I was going to try to stay silent the entire time I was there for bait and listen. And I had my device running, my spirit talker. And then I got a couple messages that was very odd. It was it's the same name. It said Shelly. And then within like 20 seconds, the same name came up again. It said Shelly, then Shelly again. And then I had a feeling more like this is a spirit trying to communicate. And that's what I wanted to do. And that's when I started talking and trying to communicate, because I felt like the silence started to make it a little more awkward, almost like I was out of place even more by not speaking at that point. So I started talking then, and then I started listening, but then I was getting some negative replies while I was sitting there. I got, "I'll get you," more than once. A message said, "Run now." And one even said Satan. Sometimes I know the device, like, to interact with it, I can tell, like, I'm very
I
familiar
wonder how
with it.
many times when you hear that Satan, I wonder how many they just use that just to scare people off.
Yeah, right. Or like I always say, like, maybe the device isn't completely like like an insane amount of database with words and everything where it can actually articulate what it wants, and it might be associating what it can, and that's the closest thing that comes up. Or like it might not know how to use it, and it just like tries to interact and then makes something like that come up. I have some ideas about that, but I can tell when it's being utilized, like something's actually interacting with it and understands it versus when you get random stuff. But I started getting a little nervous then because it got real negative. I got a lot of negative replies wanting me to leave. And after I got to a point where that's when I called him back, and I'm like, it's real negative. I'm like, something wants us to leave. It's probably time for us to go.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well,
That's where it ended up going. Like,
yeah. Well, it's very understandable what you guys are doing there, and I just wonder how much of that, just like a bluff charge is. It's all a big bluff.
Yeah,
you guys, I want you pay attention to that image there, because it's like there's this ethereal hair growing off the damn thing. I shouldn't say the damn thing. What I should say is this guy, where I call the tree man, and it's not just because you can see that it's not just blurriness from my, if it was movement like this area and all this stuff would all be. It's like I don't know how it's doing this. Now, I don't know if you have that experience yet, Mike, but you will at some point. You'll see these heads manifest out of the trees, and there's almost like this hair. Diesel should know what I'm talking about. He's in the house, and it's just like it's this fibrous stuff that only the camera can see. And look, when I'm looking at it, all I'm seeing is plain old branches. Okay. Now I know at first glance you said, well, this is just a movement to the camera, but even the movement of the camera wouldn't make it all look like hair.
It looks like hair. Yeah, it looks like hair.
And it's his eyes, and his eyes start to turn red. And people say, oh, that's because it's angry. I don't think it's angry. I might be trying to pull a wool over my eyes by saying that, but I mean, listen, buddy, I'm going to right now, right? You're the one in my neighbor's front yard. You're in my backyard, or you're basically staring at me. I mean, you could have easily just not shown up. So don't act like you're angry at me, okay? I'm not playing that. But this is fascinating because this whole image here too, you'll start to see this image right here, this entity, its eyes, there's going to be eye shine. There's all sorts of crap going on. I shouldn't talk that way, but I just want to show you this, guys, because this is a matter of just within a minute. And it wasn't because of me not being able to just focus on, because I have numerous pictures from the same area. And even though, I mean, I can recognize where it's my movement, right? And when it's not, there's something ethereal going on right now. I don't know if it has something to do with the conjunctions last night with Venus and Jupiter. I mean, the robins just showed up.
I heard them this morning.
Yeah, is it the temperature, or what's going on? But I'm having a hard time right now, the past couple nights or days, and I spent a lot of time. So I had a hard time focusing my camera on things without there things looking like a bubble, or bubbles, or really getting kind of eye shine, like here in this right here, where this head's popping up. They always got their entities. You never know. It's one of the things that I've discovered about Sasquatch is they always got with this little guy on his shoulder. At least one little guy on his shoulder. And this is the little guy which seems to be on his shoulder. And I know it doesn't make any sense, because how can you say this? Because it's a tree. But until you listen to me, until you start realizing that the trees and the Sasquatch they're almost like one and the same. They talk about the Lord of the Rings, and it talks, okay, and the ants, right, to the tree people. Remember that, Mike?
Yeah, yep.
And people say, "Oh, it's just people's imagination. It's just make believe." And no, it was no. He was trying to tell you something. At least he was trying to tell somebody who knew what's going on something. A wink, wink to the people who know what's going on. Well, the rest of us, we're just like, it's just somebody's imagination. But you can even see in here, even with all this going on, and I'll take responsibility of some of this movement, but you can see the eyes. I mean, guys, am I seeing things? Can anybody else see like eyes there? Look like eyes? A 1 for yes, a 2 for no. Listen, this is not easy to throw yourself out to the wolves like this. You know what I mean? Because it's like, but it has to be done. So, and do you see Mike? Do you see any eyes? It's okay. You can say no.
I see him.
And they're red. They're turning reddish, aren't they? They got a reddish tint to them, like there's some kind of energetic flow going through them. WC7 says 1. Sheldon, Lorna says yes. Okay. Okay, all praise and glory to the Lord of all spirits. Thank you, God. Not because you guys agree with me, but because he revealed this to me, and we're sharing it, and we're learning greater truths, right? And this is the reason why I'm hoping this is the reason why we're really here. I don't want to be the guy that's, I'm going to read another scary email about this scary encounter and about, how it scared the dickens out of me. And I wasn't able to go back in the woods for 20 years. We got a guy that's new, that's having these experiences, and he's still going in the woods. And I hope you keep it up, Mike. And then just remember, you're going to have those moments. There's going to just be absolute, it's part of the gig. If you haven't felt extreme dread, fear you've never felt in your life, it will happen. It's supposed to happen. It's all part of this whole thing. It's the shamanic rite and rituals. It's, symbolically of the night of the, what was I trying to say? Anyways, it's just part of what it is. It's the testing of you, not only your manhood, but and what you're made of, but of the fact that, we are part of this creation, this dualistic system of darkness and light and good and evil, and day and night. And if you aren't willing to experience all that it is of this creation, you'll live in fear. And then you have a bunch of bozos that are over in the World Economic Forum, Washington, D.C., is destroying your lives because you won't stand up for yourself.
I'm going to send you a clip also. It was a clip I took from one of the cameraman's live streams with him and Trapper. I want you to look at it because I saw something that was ducking behind a mound where they were at, and then it got up and walked away. And it was quick, but I got a clip and you can see it. And I did a breakdown on a live stream once where I showed everybody in my chat so they could see it, because I was trying to get them to see it on the, during the live stream. I told them I got a clip of it, and I'll send that to you because it's a pretty amazing clip. You can actually see something that comes up. It's very strange, and when you see it, you'll understand it. If you want to watch the breakdown of my video, you can.
Yes, please.
That. Yeah,
please do.
You can see it. You could see something walking. It like crouched, and it gets up and walks, and it's right behind a mound, like 20 feet from Jack and Trapper. It was pretty amazing. It was amazing to me, in my opinion. It was one of the most amazing things I've seen because you can see it walking.
Yeah, well, I imagine you can.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot more of it too.
I was jumping out of my chair when I seen it because it was there. It was something just got up and showed itself for a moment and walked across, and I about freaked out when I saw it.
What do you think it was?
I don't know. I mean, it's hard. It was a. I mean, it was walking. It looked like it was on two legs, and it looked like it was pretty big, but it was really dark. And it was like the way it seemed like it was camouflaged too. It's weird. It's like it came out of nowhere. And when I did a breakdown on my live stream, I showed that because when I seen it, I wanted to see where it came from. And then when I seen where it came from, it like threw me through a loop because it looked like, this is going to sound weird, it looked like a stick. Like there's something white that looks like a stick. And like I went back and watched this over and over and over and over, and I broke it down, and you could see the stick I point out, and then it's in a different position in the same like looking like stick thing. And then at a point, somehow it was just like a coloration of something that was white that looks like a stick, but that was actually whatever the creature was. And then it comes up and walks across. It's very strange. And when you see it, you'll see what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Very strange, but there's some camouflaging
who's CP?
Oh, CP?
Yeah.
He's somebody that is in my chat sometimes.
Okay.
He's in cameraman's chat too. I think he's in most of our community.
Cool. Yeah. It's a journey. Most people think that they're supposed to see things that they know what they're supposed to see. It takes time to figure it out. You got to actually take time. So, it's one of those things that I don't know if it's just being funny or whatever, but he does represent a large group of people that, unless it looks just like on the Animal Planet or in my books, therefore, and so, yeah, you do. There's many a time when somebody, and even when you were a kid and you were new to something, somebody had to point out to you what an elephant was.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's the way it goes in everything in life. New learning, that's how it always goes. I'm a she. Well, hey, she, how you doing, she? Yeah, so it takes and what's interesting here, we'll go into this pareidolia nonsense again. Just like conspiracy theorists, it was fostered to us on a plastic plate by the CIA, so was pareidolia. And you know why that was? Because the original reason why they designed cameras was not for your family portraits. It was not for you to take a picture of your family pet or your garden. It was to take this stuff. And your rulers and your leaders of this world understand this stuff. And they serve these things and worship these things. And now, those who have eyes to see and ears to hear, they will be able to see and hear and understand a greater deal about what's been going on in their lives. And many will laugh, and who cares? And nobody cares about the laughing. So nobody even cares about the mocking. Nobody even cares about any of this stuff. So because that's the easy thing to do. The easy thing, and in fact, you know what, Mike? This is what happens in truth, right? First thing people when you hear new truth, they push back very hard and violently, right? And then they become very derogative and dismissive, and then they finally accept. But you have to go through that whole process. Because, by the way, I did the same thing, so I can't really judge anybody. Because when I first started this stuff 6 years ago, I spent a ton of time studying pareidolia. And what I discovered is that all the people who were shouting pareidolia didn't know a damn thing about what pareidolia was. They read a few things, a few lines in Google. They saw a few pictures in Google, and they never even studied a book on pareidolia. So,
why don't you explain it to me the best you can to help me understand it?
Pareidolia?
Yeah.
Now, pareidolia is what they refer to as when you have an inanimate object, say like a kitchen sink.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say, anyway, she looks like the way it's got two knobs and a handle, and you look at it, and you say, "Yeah, it looks like a face." Or there might be a couple of knobs on on a tree, and you say, "Oh my gosh, there's eyes and there's a face," right? So, but based on, you see where the thing is, because many of these images that when we film these things in the spirit realm and in the Bigfoot and all that, because we're doing something that's interdimensional spiritual, we just assume because of what everyone else told us that that's got to be pareidolia, right? And so we dismiss it because it's not, we're not familiar with it. We can't accept it. So the problem is when you look at that ain't freaking, unless you guys know of any silver maples that grow hair. Please let me know of anybody who knows silver maples that grow hair. Just let me know that one, and I'll be more than happy to change things. And I'll be more than happy to say I'm wrong. In fact, I'd be very comfortable to say I'm wrong. You know what I mean? Because I've been fooled more times in the beginning than not, right? But yeah, that is not pareidolia. I'm sorry to say. And it's not Bigfoot, right? At least that we know of, not the traditional thing with a hairy guy running around, that the DNA that people don't know where it comes from as far as, well, they say they know it's the female side, it's a human being, but the other side is there's unknown. And it's an interesting thing. I'll share something with you, Mike, because they talk about this also with aliens, right? And they talk about aliens, since there's many people that say, or I don't know how credible they are. I don't know how much you can trust it or not, but they say that they have human DNA and the other is plant DNA. The tests that they come back on, right? Or the information that they come back on. And so then there's people like myself that are saying that missing DNA, that mitochondria, that people say, it's not human. What I'm trying to tell you is that actually it comes from the trees, it comes from plant, it comes from that's where it comes from. So, and they talk about the green man and the little green men.
Yeah.
And they told about this forever and a day, but it just went right over everyone's heads because it's nursery school. It's just fables. It's just another tale. But unfortunately, it's not just another tale. So, and I hate to sound like Mr. Know-It-All, because I'm not. I'm just being. I don't know why. I do know why, and I know why it was happening, because I was around guys with PhDs and master's degrees in the hard sciences, and were scared shitless to tell the truth about much of anything. About why? Because they were afraid they were going to lose their jobs. Now you can see this guy right here, his big eyes and his nose and that.
Wow.
It's coming out of a tree. It looks kind of very alien-like, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's just, is that pareidolia as well? I'm just saying. I'm not really not trying. I'm sorry about this. I shouldn't even be doing this, but I think it's a great opportunity to teach, and that is, what we do instinctively is we push back and react before really getting the information and the data. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense, Mike? So we see something because it doesn't fit our worldview and our paradigm. We say, no, that's pareidolia. No, can't be. And believe me, when I first saw this, I'm saying to my same self, it's just like you, I'm saying, no, it can't be. It just cannot be true. It cannot be true that these things live in the trees, manifest through the trees, and the little green men, the reason why they're little green is because maybe they have chlorophyll in them of some sort. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
How many times have we had images of a Bigfoot that was popping out and he was awfully green looking, and they said, he looked like he was not Terminator. What's this? I just lost my train of thought, and everyone talks about it all the time. Cloaking. It was cloaking.
Oh, the Predator.
The Predator thing says it's cloaking. That's just. I'm like, no. The reason why you saw it the way you saw it is because it was full of whatever's in that tree, in those branches, and then in those leaves. You know what I mean? So, I want to keep this going. I want to go back with you. So, I try to share the stuff with people all the time, and it just goes over their heads. So I don't know what to do anymore. So,
well, it just depends on how, your own experiences. Once you start having experiences like some of the kind that I've had, your mind usually is pretty open, especially when there's so many unexplained things that you've experienced that you can't just, like you said, you can't just dismiss something because it doesn't fit some pattern or some stereotype. Especially when you experience some of the strangest things you can't explain, then you start realizing you almost can't try to come up with a set stereotype for anything. You have to just
listen, my education, I don't know what CP, what's your education? Because mine's actually in ecology and environmental science and management.
I mean,
I
outside of high school, I've got like technical associate degrees for like automotive and diesel, you know.
right.
But
Well, I
beyond
was actually talking to CP. I was asking CP, and I just want to say this. And I would say to everybody else. So when I hear this stuff about science and about cameras of light and all this, I said I have a science degree. I have a background in environmental science and management and in ecology. I design nature trails, meadows, boardwalks, bogs.
yeah, I
I'm
heard you talk
involved in
about
industrial processes.
there's a
I actually have applied the scientific method in my life. Then never in a million years would I present this stuff to anybody if I thought in any way that my eyes were fooling me or the camera was fooling me. So,
you were saying that you helped with like coming up or like putting together like a bog or identifying a bog, right?
I started from the very beginning, digging it out. What I
Okay.
used to do was called greenscaping, and I would work with developers of parcels of land, and would say, okay, let's try to convert some of this stuff so that we can give back to Mother Nature. And we demonstrated that, and this all before 9/11. Once 9/11 happened, and everything went down to hell real fast. This country seems like every time we start having progress in this country towards the right direction, they have to throw something like what has happened the past couple of years. But anyways, yeah, we proved to them that they would make a lot of money just by bringing back green belts in between their property and their neighbor's property. And that if you, with swales and with ditches and that kind of thing, if you would turn them into habitat again, these bogs where there'd be frogs and green herons would show up and animal life, that people will pay, up to, 15 to 20% more for the house and the property, the parcel land, just so they could have green in their between their place and their neighbors. So I've always been outdoors. So and science has always been something that's interesting to me. I mean, it's not like I'm in it anymore. For one reason, I got MS, so I got nailed with that 13 years ago from the swine flu poke. So, anyways. So, it's something, it's not like something that, actually I came in the Bigfoot field. I was very much a cynic, and I was very much a person that was like, you know what, I'm going to go way out of my way to prove that this stuff is fake and it's a government psyop. And the reason why that is because I was in the truther movement as well at the time. And I was fed up with all of it, where it was going. Right. And I was just sick of it. The bickering and fighting and all the things that were going on all sides. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go and I'm going to tackle the most faux pas thing possible in the truther movement, right? In the truther movement, Bigfoot is like the biggest joke in the world, by the way. I mean, it's like in the truther movement, anybody that believes in Bigfoot is a dummy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I see, I have all this time and experience in interviewing people and spending a lot of time with people, and I'll get to the bottom of this. And so I was going to go, and I focused on the Patterson film. So, and I said, if I can prove that the Patterson is a fraudulent and just some dude in a monkey suit, you know what? I will. It'll make me it just be a good time. You know what I mean? Just take a break on things. You know what I mean? It was just a joke, and get a chance to meet some people, and who knows. And we're real fast within a month of me starting that stuff. Next thing you know, I'm hanging out with MK Davis, and we did like a 24 part series together. And by the way, if you guys, if your prayers will be with MK, this is Thursday, isn't it? And he had a heart procedure done today, so hopefully he made it through it. I haven't heard from him yet, so if your prayers would be with him, that would be very much appreciated. So, but anyways, MK Davis pretty much put me in my place and proved to me that not only Bigfoot exists, but a whole lot of other things exist. And that Patterson film there's not a guy, and it's funny. There's like a dozen people that claim that they were the guy in the suit.
Huh.
It's really funny, and by the way, there's some really fascinating stuff to go along with that too. Someday, I hope me and MK do when we do part whatever. The next time we get together, it'll be part 3. Hopefully, I talked to him for an hour on Sunday, but we didn't do a recording. We just talked. But when people find out how much the shamanic rituals were involved in that, you'd be quite shocked. So anyway, people think what they want to think, and people assume what they want to assume, and people believe what they want to believe. And I think honestly, I don't blame people. It's not until they actually have their
own experience.
Yeah, there's just like no way to believe in it. I wouldn't believe in it. I'd have to be honest with myself. I'd be doing the same thing. So, but let's go back to this soul stuff. So, what are your big plans? I'm going to go back to this about this. You spending all night. How long were you in the woods by yourself in the dark? How long were you there?
What you mean the last live stream?
Yeah, or let's go a little bit further. When have you had nights where you spent the whole night all by yourself in the dark in the woods?
No, not since I've been. I've other than camping, but since I've been doing like my investigations and like documenting it, recording. It's probably no more than like maybe 2 or 3 hours tops. That's kind of like I go in. I go during the daytime sometimes too, but I mostly go at night. Seems like the activity always seems a little bit higher, but it's been pretty high in the day. But I haven't really stayed down there more than 2 or 3 hours at a time, just going to a couple areas and filming.
So that's short time. So what's the longest you've been? Now, when I say dark, I'm talking with no lights on, just in the dark in the woods. How long has it been? It's okay. It could be an hour. It could be half an hour. I have to tell you, if it's a half an hour in the middle of the woods and it's pure dark, you're already ahead of everybody. Like 10,000 other, you're like 1 out of 10,000 people who have not even done it. You know what I mean? So,
well, just in the process of like doing documenting, I'd probably say, I guess just the other night with Jack, that was about an hour and 15 minutes, hour and a half. I didn't turn any lights on until after we were done with the live stream and we got our stuff packed up and left. So there was no lights on the entire time I was over there. That was probably about hour and a half, roughly.
So, during that hour and a half time, tell us what you experienced, what you sensed, what you felt, what you heard.
Well,
was it a growing experience? Was it?
Well, honestly, it was kind of familiar. There was something familiar about pretty much that whole park, where different areas I've gone to. There's something familiar though, and it felt familiar, but there was positive times where I felt positive energy. Like I felt like some of the interactions that I was getting were pretty positive and wanting to communicate. But then there was a turning point, and it seemed like something negative really started to take over, and it was really showing up in the messages as well. But the strangest thing I seen while I was there in the dark, through some of the skylight through the trees, I saw a weird like smoke. It looked like a smoke, and it was kind of like wavy and kind of thick, but it was big. It was a big kind of wave of smoke, and I could see it. And then I saw it move from like my left to my right, and then I saw like a smaller part of what looked like the same kind of black like smoke. Like I saw one go straight up a tree, right by where I saw the bigger like wave. That was by far the strangest thing that I see.
Straight up the tree. That's good.
Yeah,
that's
it was quick. It just went whoop, like like a puff of like a little cloud or something just went right up the tree.
And there's a couple of videos out there in the internet world where that exact thing, something that looked just like a Bigfoot, did this exact same thing. It got to the very base of the tree, and just like that, it just like boom, it just flew right up, right?
Yeah, Jack's experienced that a lot. He's told me about that. He's had the same kind of experiences like that.
So that's a little more data to that's in favor of the possibility that we're dealing with spirits or interdimensional beings, right? They can go from. Honestly, I think that most of the time that's exactly what they are. Something must happen, and I still have the hope, like everyone else, that there are physical flesh and blood beings out there, like flat out flesh and blood beings that, for some reason, I don't know why it is, um, but I guess it's just because the unknown, and there's always something more out there, right? But what I what I'm it just seems to me the vast majority of the time these things I think of like the scriptures, and I think of like when Abraham was having dinner with the three angelic beings, right? They came, they showed up, and they had dinner with them and all that, and ate food. They were in the flesh, but they weren't apparently forever, right? And a lot of Native American traditions said the same thing or something similar to that, in which they would trade with these things, interact with these things. They argued. I mean, listen, the idea of them coming out of trees is not even my original idea. It actually comes from indigenous populations like the Ojibwe and others, who say they lived in the trees. And like they call them tree boogers and tree monkeys and tree apes and tree devils for a reason, and it wasn't just because they were hiding behind a tree. And so it's okay. I mean, that's maybe they were right, and we were blindsided with our arrogance and our pseudoscience. Yeah, after what I've seen the past 3 years and the nonsense that I heard over and over and over again, trust the science, trust the science. It says science, it's like this is a God itself. And I don't know if people don't seem to understand science too well, but it's a constant inquiry and questioning, right? It's not based on consensus. It's not about group think, but apparently that's what it's turned into, right? And a lot of that same mentality, unfortunately, has captivated the Bigfoot community. So, I don't know. Science. It's like a God itself. But then when you ask, and you ask how many people, okay, so if science, the scientific method means so much to you, show me your paperwork, your data, your research on and anything you've ever done in your life in which you apply the actual scientific method. And you'll find over and over again that it's never happened. It's just more word salad and parroting. And I just, you get older you get, the more you should be willing to question the official paradigm and a narrative. You shouldn't have enough, thick enough skin to be able to do it and say, you know what, listen, it's not adding up. I have to go a different direction. If it means that I have to, I lose my reputation, which never was mine to begin with, so be it. So I don't know, but I really think this is awesome, Mike, that you're in 6 months time, you're willing to go to that length and do what you're doing, because you're doing more than most people who I know in the Bigfoot research community have done, many of them their whole time. I mean, I know a lot of people who have watched a lot of videos and gone camping on the weekend. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, like all my research is all you would just categorize as paranormal investigations, and during that process in a place like West Branch, that's opened up the doors for me because of my experiences of things that were not a spirit or a shadow or like an apparition, from seeing things that I've seen. that's opened up, you know, that's opened up the door for the open-mindedness to like know where I'm at that point in time, or that place has things there that are beyond what most people think, you know. You'd have
Yeah,
to go there and experience it to know what
there is so much going on that's beyond the norm and beyond.
you were talking about spending time, like just almost like meditation, like in the dark, like as like a challenge or like a test. There's a
Yeah.
place I go to meditate, and I go there and I just spend time in the dark. I mean, I might take my light, turn it on when I leave. But there's a Hopewell Indian burial mound here by me,
Oh yeah.
and I go there. It's in a park here in Kent. Um, Towner Hopewell Mound is it's like a park, but then the mound's in it, and I go there, and I filmed there a bunch of times, and I, like all these experiences and things I'm talking about. I'm pretty sure everything we've been talking about I have documented on my films that I've done. But I go to the Hopewell Mound, not always to film. I'll just go there and I'll meditate, and I'll spend an hour, hour and a half, and I'll just go there. It's usually in the evening when it's dark, and I'll sit there on the mound, and kind of like what I did just the other night, with Jack, kind of the same thing. But I'll just go by myself and I'll do it. There's something different about that place too. A whole bunch of different experiences there, but there's something there that's really spiritual there that I found, and I like to spend time there. And if you were talking about actually doing a little um, meditation time in the dark, that would be a place I'd invite you to go to, because I bet you would enjoy it.
Well, maybe I will. I mean, I'm, um, sure, why not? Why not? But at the same token, I also would have to say it and let everybody know that there are such a thing as familiar spirits and regional spirits, local spirits, spirits that are familiar with you and me.
Yeah.
I grew up in this town. I was the kid that was always running around the woods when no one else was. As I hardly ever ran across anybody who was running around in the woods building tree forts, fishing in the creek. And I'm talking about, it's the edge of the suburbs and that kind of thing. So before it was all developed, right? And so these spirits know me.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we do it in your area, one of the things that's going to happen is just to be proper preparation for it, like the elders would do it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's not like here's one of the things that people make a mistake doing, I think, at least, is just going to a new area and not spiritually suiting up for it, preparing for it, because it's quite disrespectful, and people don't realize this, but it's quite disrespectful. Yeah, that picture doesn't look right, because that's the reason why it's all blobby and weird looking. WC7 is because there's like it's heavily spirited. There's a lot of spirits. That's the reason why it's all weird looking. You know what I mean? That's what I was telling you. I couldn't take it. I mean, it's only 50 yards. It's not even that 50 yards, maybe max 50 yards from where Canberra is. With the P900, that's nothing. And but the ether, if you will, you see, that's how I see it, Mike. Is we're just surrounded by spirits all over the place.
It's like right? EMF, like a magnetic field.
And it's that they emit that's just what's part of what it is, but it's not. Just think of it this way. There's multi-dimensional realms running around, the parallel dimensions. There's the air all around us. There's spirits in our houses. There's spirits in us. There's spirits in our yards. There's spirits in our neighbors. And it's just they're literal spirits. That's what they are. I mean, they're entities. They're sentient, intelligent, maybe plasmatic beings but they're more than that. They're spirits. Just like, when we die, what's inside, we are walking around in an avatar, a meat suit. We are not this meat suit. We are a spirit. And all around us are spirits. And if you look really closely, you'll see this stuff. And a lot of times, this is now where the EMF, you'll see this electromagnetic frequency being, it's very, you ever heard about, if you heard, Mike, you heard people doing research, maybe you experience as well, where you go somewhere and you feel like you can cut it with a knife. The air is as thick as can be, right? I'm not talking about how humid it is, because it's not even humid. Because listen, it's. I filmed this tonight at 6:20. It was less. I guess it'd be yesterday. Yeah, it's still today. Yeah, there was no reason for me not to be able to take a picture. I couldn't take a picture in front of me in my front yard, or there to the west, southeast, excuse me, and across the street, and then my neighbors. They got some trees that are probably 80 feet tall, 85, maybe even taller than that. Maybe probably close to 100 feet over there. And then over here to the south, or to the north, everywhere I went, I couldn't take a picture. It didn't matter where it was. I couldn't, what seems is not focusing is because there's this EMF, you might want to say, there's electromagnetic frequency interference. Right, supposedly with the camera, it's the appearance of it, right? Well, what I'm trying to say is, it's the illusion of interference. What is being captured is that the air itself coming from the trees is energized, it's charged, it's plasmatic, and therefore you're never ever going to get a clear picture. No matter what I do, no matter where, and you saw, I couldn't get it clear, and this happens. The times it happens, you know what I mean? It's overcast, but there's no, it didn't rain. There's no extreme humidity in the air, right? It just, I know it sounds strange. I honestly, but the more you look at it, you can just see it. That's not the branches. It's not me, It's not me. I moved too fast. I didn't focus in good enough, or I was distortion from it's not from my lens. That's what I'm trying to say. It's from the atmosphere. It's from the ether. It's from the trees itself. It's emitting energy.
Just from looking at it, you can almost feel it. Like when I look at it, you can almost tell that you can almost like feel it by looking at the picture.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see you should be able to see all the branches and everything, and you do. What's all the hairy stuff? That's the thing. It should be all moving one way or the other. But anyways, and you can see the stuff, and I've filmed numerous times where it's like literally, okay, it's an overcast day. Therefore, it's not the sunshine that's causing the eyes to turn red, right? Or different parts of the trees to turn red, right? I'm not talking like like when even the areas where there's a broken branch, and it is at the where there may be a knots or that area that's broken, and you can see the inner wood, and it's aged. These are silver maples, so they don't have red bark. There's no red bark in it, right? So you guys, I don't know if you can see what I see, if you can see what's going on, and I just telling you, I had an amazing vision the first Tuesday of June, where a portal opened up and it was just circled. That's one of the reasons why I shared that video with you guys. If you go back, and it's the part from Scott Carpenter and Ellie Marzulli interviewing about the portal that opened up for Scott. And I said, and he tries to show you that there's like a circle that opens up. When I had the one that opened up for me, it was like a ring, an energetic ring that opened up, and inside it were 3 entities in a triangular shape, right? And they were there. And I watched it for several minutes, and I myself couldn't comprehend what I was looking at until I said, "That's got to be a portal, right?" So by the time I went and got my camera and come back to try to take a picture of it, which I took a couple of pictures of the area, I was watching it dissolve before my eyes. So, how many times has this happened to me? And anybody else has had any kind of experience? You know what I'm talking about. Why is there times when I have sightings with my naked eyes and can't take a picture of it, and other times I'll take a picture of it and there ain't no sighting with the naked eyes? Because in this 14 world of ours, this full of anomalies and things that are inconsistent and that don't go along with our scientific understanding of the day. It's just it is what it is. It's part of our reality, right?
I've had that like you said, that thickness, like you're talking about, almost like it almost feels like it's some kind of magnetic disturbance or something. And I went into a home that had a lot of poltergeist activity and active spirits, and when I first went in, it almost felt like it was like some kind of a sensory like shock, and it almost made me feel like a little bit unstable,
It's like you're zapped.
Yeah, it was, and it felt like kind of heavy like that. And that was like the first feeling, felt kind of like heavy, but then I felt like some kind of like zap, or like, like something that messed with like my my senses, and I felt like a little bit unbalanced. And that was, and when I was there, I documented what happened
Now,
there.
when you say unbalanced, are you talking about like on your feet, or you're talking about mentally or psychologically or something like that? Which way?
Like almost like something messed with like my neuro system for a moment. Like it made me off balance. Like you know what I mean? Like it made me feel slightly like almost like dizzy like.
Oh,
but
yeah.
It was like I the best way I could say is it definitely felt like maybe like a zap or something, but it made me like off balance. Like it's weird. It's like you can almost like taste it. It's strange. And that place I went to had a lot of spirit activity, and when I was there, documented it. The EMF activity was crazy, constant EMF from all over. It seemed like on like unusual places, odd timing, you just keep getting EMF. And it just seemed to like make sense what I was feeling there, because that was a really charged place. But my first time I went in, that's what it was like. Like it made me a little off balance, and I felt like a little bit dizzy, and then it faded after a little bit of time that I was there. But it was heavy feeling too, like kind of like a weird heavy feeling.
Yeah, it's definitely. I understand what you're saying. There's like times when you can't even think straight. There's times when you can't. It's like when you talk about the loss of time. My biggest thing is I have this. It almost feels like the time stands still. There is no time. It's like you're just in. Remember, you walk through this stuff in certain areas, and it's like you're in another world. You're in the same world, but you're in another world. And it's not just psychologically. I mean, things just happen that don't add up. But the big, like, okay, the sense of dread and fear or peace at times. How many times have I been in an active area, and as you say, the hair in the back of your neck raises, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think there comes this point in time. I know other people say, well, trust your intuition. And I don't necessarily argue that that's not the right thing to do, but I think most people's intuition is so screwed up that I think the best thing to do is actually face some of your fear. And you realize that a lot of quote unquote your intuition is wrong. Your perception is wrong. And you can't help it. It's because and none of us can help this. It's because we were indoctrinated in a sea of lies and misconceptions and half truths at best. And so always question what you believe and what you know to be true. And you know, if you know, say something is absolutely the truth, then prove it. If you know that something is absolutely not true, then prove it. And it is how you have to do it. It's not to somebody else, it's to yourself. Because once you know the truth about something, it doesn't matter what anybody says, what anybody else says. Because you have enough of the evidence, the awareness of this. And I'm not talking about like, well, I read this in a book and the book said this, and I memorized the words in the book, and I know the history of the author and all that other stuff. I'm talking about there's knowing and there's believing. Most people operate in believing. Most people don't know very much about anything. And that's all of us, by the way. In fact, it takes a great amount of time to know much about anything. They'd say it takes 14 years to be an expert in a certain area, whatever that means. It's gonna. We have. I mean, my perception today is that let's say the indigenous population in Ohio or in Michigan, or the Great Lakes area, 300 years ago, was a hell of a lot smarter than we are. I'm not just talking about the fact that they could survive off the land. They knew stuff.
Yeah.
And they shared stuff, and they not only just wasn't just religious nonsense, and it wasn't just religious belief stuff. I want you guys to pay attention real closely to this image, and I want you to remember where the wild things are.
Yep.
And I want you to see the faces and what that, you know, because that's what we're dealing with. And I hate to sound like an arrogant. I wish somebody else would do this. Mike, you want to take on the mantle? Take on the mantle for me, because you know what?
I'm good. I'm good in my range right now. I'm still trying to. I'm still in my baby steps of what I'm doing.
It's like it's ridiculous because like it's everybody. It's not everybody, but an awful lot of people just they know. It's like they don't want to hear what I have to say. So, but if you say it or somebody else says it, then I'll hear it. So, but anyways, this if you pay attention to this, and you can say it's pareidolia all you want, and that's fine. I don't care. But I'm going to show you something in the spirit. The spirit. This is his arm. This is his hand. You can even see the fingers, and it's going up. This is shoulder. It's a spirit now. This is the other arm or hand right there, right? Right there. You can even see the eyes, the eyelashes, the mouth, the nose, the hair. And it says, you know, and once again, they're totaling up through here. And I know it's all blurry, and I can't help it. That's the way it works. So we're not talking about cardboard or wooden cutouts. We're talking about spirits. And so I want to ask you to really pay attention to this area. Now, remember, I'm going to try to remember where it's at. Think how far it is. Right? So if you expect that to be perfectly, but if we zoom in again, because there's a point in all this. And the point in all this is that the spirits do live in the trees. And the point of this is when you're doing this fields Bigfoot researching and all that, and if you're not willing to look up once in a while, and you're not willing to come to terms with the fact that we're dealing with things that live in the trees, you're going to miss 90% of the story. And I'm not just talking about Bigfoot, because there's even, as cool as Sasquatch is and Bigfoot is, there's a hell of a lot more going on. And you need to know that.
Mm-hmm.
You do need to know that, because I see a lot of people walking into this blind, or they think they got it figured out because they read a few books and they watched a bunch of videos. You know what? This is what I learned 6 months into in 2017 when I was out to emphatically prove that it was a bunch of BS. And after listening and spending all this time with guys like MK Davis and others, I just said, "Oh, I'm going to have to go out in the field and find out for myself if it's real." And I'm going to tell you something. The very first time that I went out in the field, I went to, it was called Oak Openings region with me, and my son at the time. And I mean, I didn't think nothing was going to even happen. So I figured they have a park there and we'll go play there. We'll tromp in the woods for, a little bit. And we pull over. I see a structure. There's like some sand dunes. And there's like a structure to my left. And then on my right, the driver's side, passenger side of the car, on the side of the road, there's like 10 feet in. There's like the edge of the woods with the shrub line and everything else. You can't really see what's inside the woods. And I said, "Yeah, let's go in there, Chase, and just find out what's going on. Let's go tromp around in the woods." I go in there, me and my son go in there, and we walk in there 10 feet, and we're looking at 30 feet or 20 feet in front of us. It's a giant teepee structure. 20 feet in front of us, the very first time, dude. And the very first place I stopped at, and me and my son walk under that teepee structure, and the game is on. And my life has never been the same since. None. And so if people try to tell me that the spiritual side doesn't exist in this, I just know they don't know what they're talking about. Yeah. It's not that I'm judging you. I know you just don't know what you're talking about. And I think it's really important that all sides of the story are told so that people can make the informed and intelligent decision of what they're getting themselves into. I mean this because I've seen many a person's life change for the better and for the worse in this field. And I mean that too as well. I mean, and so it's not like some kind of, well, we're going to go hunt today. Maybe we're going to go, get a bag ourselves a deer this fall. That has nothing. This is nothing. As cool as that is, by the way, that is nothing compared to what we're dealing with. And I don't know what else to say. I'm being redundant, but I have to be redundant. I know I have to be redundant. They keep on beating this, this old dog until it is nothing no more. It's nothing but a pair of moccasins, because if I don't do it, guess what? I just know that somebody is going to get hurt in a way that we don't understand. In fact, it has happened before. And it's because of not respecting what our ancestors understood and what they respected. Right. And having the right attitude. And I'm not talking about having a positive, think and be rich, or that positive attitude. I'm not talking about the Napoleon Hill type of stuff. I'm talking about rightly aligned with what you're getting yourself involved in, because your life's going to change. And I don't. So I've probably been talking too much, but Mike, I don't know, man. It was really nice of you to join me. I would really love to have you come on again. I know looks like you got a lot of folks that care about you and are following you.
Oh yeah,
they love there for us. So, much success. And what I mean by that is that you really get the true rewards out of this, the rich rewards out of this. It has nothing to do with popularity. It doesn't have anything to do with, having a bunch of followers.
Right.
I'm talking about the true success.
Mm-hmm.
The true success. Superman, Bigfoot. The true success of really understanding what's really going on, and that your life, your family's life, and everyone else's life would be richly blessed beyond entertainment, and beyond just simple knowledge. So I thank you very much for joining me, Mike.
Oh,
You want
thank
to
you.
remind everyone again, your channel, please. And
Yeah.
I will make sure to go back and put it in the information box. I wasn't expecting to have Mike.
It was kind of out of the blue, right? Just a surprise.
I believe 100% in synchronicity. By the way, if you guys look real carefully, can you guys see Bigfoot flying? You see him right there? You see his head right there? You see his arms right there? Or he's reaching around his buddies. He's not really flying. He's just stretched out there. But can you guys see that? Can anybody? Before we go, and well, Mike tells us his where his website is not. Can you guys see the spirits in there? Can you see the spirit and the arm stretch? And tell me if you can see the spirits there manifesting in front of that tree. Which, by the way, remember how far it is, and that's how we captured that. So, tell us, Mike, what's your YouTube channel again? Please.
It's MT Paranormal Life on YouTube.
Okay. MT Paranormal Life. And when's the next time you're going to be doing something or posting something? Anything planned or anything coming up?
Well, yeah, I've got on St. Patrick's Day, I'm going to be at Hillview Manor in Newcastle, and then on April 2nd, I'm going to be at the Buxton Inn in Granville, Ohio, for an overnighter. I got 2 rooms there. That's one of America's most haunted hotels, one of the top 50. I'm going to go spend the night. I got the 2 haunted rooms that are well known there, and I'm going to record and document what I get there too. So that's the big show that I've got planned. The big, the big events. The rest, I might go back down to West Branch again and do some more. I haven't been down to my research site for a while because it's been kind of negative, and I'm kind of waiting to see if it changes with the season. But I'll be doing some local stuff. I do streams from home too, just chats, go over some evidence and stuff so people see what I see, stuff like that.
Cool. Mike, don't be a stranger. Please join anytime. And Damien, thank you for being here. Native Medicine Bear Claw Woman. Thank
Ramona,
you. Ramona, thank you for following Mike. Or WC7, thank you for being there. Lorna, thank you for coming back and being with me. See what else. Can't forget Sheldon. Sheldon, man, thanks for being my right hand man and interacting with people. When I, how it is for me. CP, thank you for being here. Who else? What else? I don't want to miss too many people here. That's just a Damon. There's a few other people, but anyways, the rest of you guys, I don't want to spend too much time there. But thank you all for being here and being there for Mike and for being part of this show. And I hope you learned some new stuff that if your eyes were open and your ears were open, I know you heard some stuff. Oh, yeah. And if Josh, if you're still here, Squatch Topic PA, thank you for bringing Mike into my life. And Lord of all spirits, thank you for synchronicity and making things happen, because it turns out that we ended up with a really darn cool show.
Yes, it was. Very good.
Very good. Darn cool show. And many blessings to you all, guys. If you want to stay on, Mike, for 1 second, I'm going to end the broadcast. Okay. Guys, you guys have a great night. I probably won't be doing anything until next week. So.
Good night, everyone. Thanks.